The newest DC TV show Krypton on Sci-Fi is going to premiere later this week on the 21st of March, and I'm actually kind of excited because it looks really high quality, high budget, high production quality. It looks really good, and it's written by some writers that have been in some high class movies like The Dark Knight and Man of Steel, so I think they probably know what they're doing. So just like Black Lightning, I will be breaking down every single character that has been confirmed up to this point. It is premiering in 3 days from when I'm recording this, so not every single character has been confirmed for the series. I'm pretty sure this means every character that was confirmed for the pilot and later this season that will appear. So in this video, I'll be going over every single character that will appear this season, or at least all the characters that have been confirmed. I will explain them, who they are, what they're going to do on the show. So here goes with the first character, who is the main character, Val L. Val L's character description reads: Superman's grandfather and Jor-El's father, athletic, quietly confident, and in his 20s, a younger version of the grumpier character from the comics. So this will be obviously Clark Kent / Kal-El / Superman's grandfather, and also I think Supergirl's grandfather at the same time, because they are cousins. So they both are from the House of L, so they probably have the same grandfather. And Val L, in the comics, it does say that this is the younger version of the grumpier character from the comics. In the comics, his name is actually spelled slightly differently with a Y in between the E and the G. I don't know why they changed it, probably so that it could make it easier for general audiences to spell it out, which I do get. I understand that, and that Y is pretty extra. It doesn't really need to be there, so that doesn't bother me at all. And also, I don't really care about this character from the comics, and hopefully I will care about him on the show. But he is Superman's grandfather, obviously, and he's going to be the heir or the king or the lord of the House of L. At least that's what he is in the comics. He is the lord of the House of L, at least until he dies and Jor-El takes over. But that's what he is, really. He's just the lord of the House of L. He doesn't really get much to do in the comics. Clearly, he's going to get a lot more to do, and he's going to be a lot more fleshed out on the show. I don't really know where they're taking this character, other than he's probably going to end the series with him giving birth to, not him giving birth, obviously, his wife or girlfriend at the time giving birth to Jor-El. That's, I'm guessing, how the series will be done. Although I think that it would have been better if the series would be done with Krypton actually exploding, even though that's like 50, 60 years into the future, like probably a lot more than that. So that's not going to happen on this show. The show's not going to last that long, but it can last until Jor-El is born, which is what I'm predicting will be the end of the series and the end for this character, Val L. The next character is Lyta Zod, and as you can tell by the name, she's going to be, I'm guessing, the ancestor of the Zod family, aka General Zod, aka one of Superman's biggest enemies. And I think that the houses are already enemies, or at least they're rivals or something like that in this show, in this continuity, because of what this character description reads. So this character description reads: a reluctant cadet and warrior in the Kryptonian military in a clandestine forbidden relationship with Val L. So either that can mean that the Zod family and the L family hate each other, so they don't really care to be in relationships, or it means that because she's in the military, she can't be in any relationships. Maybe the Kryptonian military forbids relationships in general, or maybe they just can't be in relationships with royalty. I think he's royalty. I think that the House of L is sort of royalty in this continuity. I think in like every continuity, they're like the richest house on the planet, I think. So maybe that's why they can't be in a relationship, but I'm guessing is the Kryptonian military is one of those that doesn't allow relationships with anybody. But she is clearly going to be the main love interest of this series, or at least this season, because love interests do change up sometimes. I don't know if she's going to be the mother of Jor-El. Because in the comics, it's not specifically stated who Jor-El's mother is, at least in terms of if his father is Val L, because his father has been Jor-El the first, but it looks like they're not doing that. They're just doing Val L, so in that case, there is no clear mother, so it could be anyone, and it might be Lyta Zod, but we'll just have to wait and see and find out. Maybe we're going to have to wait like 9 or 10 years to find out that till the end of the series, but I don't have the answer to that. The next character is Val L, and his character description reads, Seg's grandfather who defied death by going to the Phantom Zone and is a staunch believer in space exploration. So this is Seg's grandfather, which means he's Superman's great-great-grandfather, so that's way, way back in terms of generations, but I find his character description really interesting. He defied death by going to the Phantom Zone, and he is a staunch believer in space exploration, which means that we will get most of our space travel from this character, or at least he will lead to most of the space travel. I don't know how he can survive outside of the Phantom Zone, because I think that like the only way he defied death is by being in the Phantom Zone, where there is no time, there's no concept of time, so you can't age. I mean, I think there is time passes in the outside world while you're in there, but you don't age. I don't think you age, so I don't know how he could come out of the Phantom Zone without dying, but maybe he did, because he did defy death. And I think this is going to be like a big thing where they're going to make it illegal to use the Phantom Zone in this way, in this continuity. But I think that this character description is really interesting just because of the whole Phantom Zone thing, and the fact that we might get a space exploration storyline from him. So skipping past some other characters to two more interesting and way more well-known characters in Adam Strange and Brainiac. These two are very connected because I think that all the unknown characters that I talked about, like Segel, Lightazad, Val L, and all those other characters that I will talk about in a minute, those characters have their own storyline, or there will be two storylines following Segel, the one on Krypton and the one focusing around Brainiac and also, Adam Strange. These two characters will, in my opinion, definitely be the most interesting part of the series, as well as the other well-known DC characters who I will talk about in a minute. But these two characters have a really interesting storyline in which Brainiac will come back to the past, and I think he's trying to wipe out the House of L so that Superman can't ever be created or born, so he can't foil his plans or something like that. I don't know how Brainiac time travels. I mean, he is a genius, so he can come up with some way to time travel. I don't know how Adam Strange time travels, but again, this is in the DC universe, so anything can happen, and he can be from a version of Earth where time travel is already there. I don't know what Earth he's from. I don't know what continuity is from at all. I don't know what continuity this show is in. I don't think it's in the Arrowverse. It might be in the DCU, but I'm not sure, considering that universe is really failing at the moment. So I don't know if the show wants to be attributed to that universe, so I don't really know where this whole universe is in, so I don't know where Adam Strange or Brainiac are from, but their storyline seems to be a lot more interesting to me than anything else going on the show, and I really hope they focus on it a lot. Brainiac will be the main villain of not only this season, but this series. I'm not 100% sure he's going to be the main villain of the season. It might be somebody on Krypton, like a Kryptonian, but he will be the main villain of the series, which makes sense because in a lot of versions, he's the one that destroys Krypton in the end of Krypton. Sometimes it just blows up, sometimes it's because of natural disasters, but in some continuities, and the ones that I'm most familiar with, like the DC animated universe one, Brainiac is the one to destroy Krypton, which kind of makes him the perfect series villain for this show. Also, he looks really great. Just compare him to Brainiac 5 on Supergirl, who I originally thought looked terrible, but I am warming up to him the more I see him, but it's just no comparison. The production value going into the show is so much higher than on any Arrowverse show, let alone Supergirl, that the difference between this Brainiac and that Brainiac is so jarring. It's insane. This Brainiac is far superior. He just looks way better, and I'm actually really excited to see him. He's the character, along with Adam Strange and some other DC characters who I will talk about in a minute. By the way, this video is going to be really long because there are a lot of characters, a lot more than there were on Black Lightning, just because this show is only premiering in a couple days, while that I think I made 2 or 3 weeks before. I probably should have made this video earlier, but those are the characters I'm most interested in, along with the other DC characters, who I will talk about after I talk about the rest of the unknown Kryptonian characters that are going to be on the show. The next character is Darren Veex, who is not a character from the comics at all, and is not related to anybody from the comics either. There's nobody in the comics named something Vex, but there is a character on Man of Steel named Carvex, who might be the descendant of Darren Veex. I mean, that's a very huge possibility if this is in the same continuity as Man of Steel. But this character description reads, the Chief Magistrate of Kandor, charged with defending Krypton's oligarchy. So, this is the first mention of Kandor from any of these character descriptions, and that's really interesting to me. Kandor is the bottled city of Kandor, which is very connected to Brainiac. Brainiac is the one that shrunk it, and Brainiac is the one that bottled it and added it to his collection before Superman got it back. So the fact that Darren Veex lives in Kandor, or is the Chief Magistrate, that's a difficult word, of Kandor, is really interesting to me, and that's really all I have to say here. It's only one sentence, one short sentence, so there's really not much to say about Darren Veex other than Kandor, and he might be the ancestor of Carvex, who is a very, very, very minor character in one movie, Man of Steel. Next up is Elora Zod, and who is possibly and probably the ancestor of General Zod, along with the ancestor of Lita Zod, the character I mentioned earlier, in the fact that she is her mother, which I know from the character description, which I will read right now. The premise of the Kryptonian Military Guild and mother of Lita, Elora shares her first name with Elora Zor-El, the mother of Supergirl. So this may mean that, I mean, it seems like this world or this city or wherever they live, Krypton, the world is a very, very small place. Everyone's either a Zod or an L or a Vex or something, because there are other Vexes. So it seems like this is a very small world, and it seems like the Zod family has some sort of connection to the L family in the fact that Supergirl's mother is named Elora, and so is Elora Zod. And that might not mean anything. It might be it's just a common name on Krypton, but they actually pointed it out in the character description, so this might mean something. It might mean that Elora Zor-El is from the Zod family and changed her name to L once she married Zor-El. That's very probable. I think that Elora Zod might be the daughter of Lita Zod, and we won't know that until this series finale, probably. Next up is Kem, an engineer and Seg's best friend. We don't know his last name, but I'm betting it's either a Zod or a Vex or an M, because there is an N later, but nothing really else to add on that. So the next character after that is Nyssa Vex, which is another Vex after Darren Veex, and is probably the mother of Carvex, the minor character from Man of Steel, but her character description reads, a junior magistrate and the daughter of Darren Veex. Moving on to Dev M, which I talked about a little bit ago when I mentioned M. I don't know anything about Dev M other than the fact that he is a chiseled 20-something bad boy. So with all of those minor characters, very minor characters, I think they will be very recurring. What I mean by very recurring is that they won't appear a lot. They might appear in almost every episode, but I don't think they will be major characters, so I didn't talk about them in depth. Moving on to those characters that I talked about that I am actually pretty excited for, and those are the other DC characters, Doomsday and Hawkgirl. So, Doomsday being on the show makes a lot of sense because in the comics, or at least in the comics, he is a biological weapon created by Kryptonian scientists. And I say at least in the comics because he was changed in the DCEU in Batman vs. Superman. They changed his origin story and they changed his look for the worse in both scenarios. So that is why I don't think this is in the DCEU, because of Doomsday, unless if they make it so that Doomsday is a common occurrence that all those ships can do, because it is a thing in continuity of the DCEU. Doomsday is a thing on Krypton in the past, and it was banned or it was outlawed, which I'm very hopeful that's not what's happening, because that's a much worse, less interesting version of Doomsday, and is a much worse looking version of Doomsday as well, and I really hope this is not in the DCU. I'd much prefer it if it was in the Arrowverse on Earth 38 connecting to Tyler Hoechlin's Superman, or it's its own thing. I don't want it to be connected to the DCU because of Doomsday and because of other things. The DCU is a little disappointing at the moment. But Doomsday is a biological weapon, like I said, created by Kryptonian scientists, and what they did is they put him in these crazy habitats where he could not survive, and the way he works is whenever he dies, he comes back to life, and he can't die the same way he did before, so they kept on doing that over and over again in different habitats until he was virtually undefeatable, until he battled Superman, and virtually undefeatable came into play when he killed him, when they killed each other. It's a very famous comic book. I'm sure you've heard of it, The Death of Superman. Doomsday is a very cool character to me just because he's so powerful and he puts Superman to the test. So seeing Doomsday on the show, seeing his origin story, will be very interesting to me. Moving on to the other character I just mentioned, Hawkgirl. So when Hawkgirl was announced to be on Krypton, she was actually called Hawkwoman, and I don't really know why. Hawkgirl is a much more known name for her. I just think that she changed her name to Hawkwoman later in her DC Universe career, but Hawkgirl is clearly a more famous name just because of the Justice League TV show. So this Hawkgirl will probably not be the same Hawkgirl from Legends of Tomorrow. Hopefully not. She was a really, really bad Hawkgirl and bad actress, really bad written character in general. This will be a totally new character. I think that it won't have anything to do with time travel. I think it's just a random Thanagarian, I'm hoping that it's a random Thanagarian police officer or something like that, or inspector or something like that, or detective more likely, that is coming to Krypton for some reason. I don't want it to be time travel because we already have Brainiac and Adam Strange doing that, and for Hawkgirl to be the one to come back in time wouldn't really make sense, considering any other character could do so. Like if Superman came back in time, I mean, that wouldn't really make any sense because under a red sun he would be useless. But I mean, Batman or Green Lantern would make sense because the Green Lantern Corps was around back then, which is why I'm hoping that we do see a couple Green Lanterns here and there on this show. But I really don't think Hawkgirl will be the Hawkgirl from the comics. I think she will be a Thanagarian officer or detective or something like that. Nothing has been confirmed as of right now. That's all we know. All we know about her is that she is appearing on the show. That is it. So there are 3 other characters on the show. The first one is Segel's father, Ter-El, and the other 2 are Cherries and Jax-Ur, which have no character descriptions, and they're characters that I've never heard of, so there's not really much to talk about here. But that is the end of the video. I know this is a very, very long video, so if you are at this point in the video, thanks for sticking around till the end. If you want, follow me on Twitter or click the notification icon next to the subscribe button to get notified for all my videos, and subscribe if you haven't already. And let me know which one of these characters you're excited to see the most. Me personally, it's definitely gotta be Brainiac, Doomsday, Hawkgirl, and also Adam Strange. If I had to pick one, it would be Brainiac because they're doing the most with him. He looks really cool. He's gonna be the main villain of the season. But let me know which one of these characters you're most excited to see in the comments down below. Thanks for watching.